I got a question from Armin about leaps and jumps, and I wanted to make a little bit more information available to him and anyone else who this might apply to. First, let's take a look at some simple exercises that you can do that will reinforce what we talked about without some of the technical treachery of the difficult things, the repertoire that I had played. So here's just a couple of really simple exercises that you can do on your own to practice this idea of octave jumps and the arc and the geometry of your hand. So I think the simplest place is always to go from a black note to a black note. They're easier than white note to white note. And as I play something like B flat to B flat, notice that my hand makes this motion here, and I can still hear my old Russian teacher saying, "Make motion like bird," and my hands make this small kind of wing flapping motion. You'll notice I'm not touching the note first. Now, specifically when I do that, what are my eyeballs looking at? They're actually not looking at the first note, they're looking at the second note, and specifically they're looking at the thumb. So I'm looking at the B flat here, the upper B flat, when I'm playing the lower one, because that's where my thumb is going to go. I would continue doing that with other black note combinations, and you make this small motion. Again, it's an arc. I don't touch the note first, and there's no excess motions. The higher my jump is, the larger my arc is, which would be just like throwing a ball. If I really want to get some distance, it's going to go higher in the air and make this curve. So if I did 2 octaves, does the same thing. Note how my hand, my wrist drops, my fingers go up. Okay, now let's add some geometry to that, and that is the variable of the inside of the hand. When you're playing chords, they're frequently framed by an octave, and our hands know what that octave shape is, but the inside can change in any number of possibilities. So I can play something close together where my second finger is close to the thumb, but I can also keep going up and have these different combinations of shapes. So when I make, if I do the same type of grouping, let's do B flat and put an inside note into that upper octave. And in follow-up to the other video, you'll notice that on the upper chord, my hand is pretty centered. So my third finger is going straight ahead at what I call a 12 o'clock position. Now, here's where we're going to change the geometry of the hand by changing the inside note placement. So instead of going to D in the middle, I'm going to go to E flat in the middle, and I'm going to use my third finger. Now, everybody's hand has a different set of flexibility. The famed Soviet pianist Lazar Berman apparently could reach from C to C with 2 and 3. That is mind-blowing to me. He must have had no bones in his fingers. I don't know how he did that, but incredibly flexible fingers. There's no way my finger is going to do that. So everyone's hand is a little bit different. But as I get to know kind of the shape and feel of my hand and what it prefers, and it always prefers what I call mid-level motions, as I go up, I'll switch to third finger on E flat, then third finger on E, and as I start getting closer, I start switching fingers. I find with some students, when they want to change hand position to these jumps, they always use their second finger, and the problem is that as they make these more and more different shapes, their second finger is having to move farther and farther over, and that's not a mid-level motion. Let me clarify mid-level motion. Our wrist, all of our joints can move in any number of angles, but it does not prefer being at that outer edge. It's a little bit like your power steering. When you turn it all the way to the edge, you can hear the cars doing whatever it does. You can hear it kind of vibrating as it's at the outer range of its motion. Think about touching your toes. You know, your body doesn't necessarily prefer, my body does not prefer that position, but somewhere in the middle of that range of joint position. Now, let's look at this in one other example, in a repertoire example, which I think is far more important than kind of manufactured examples. My left hand, playing this nocturne, Opus 55, number 1, is making these jumps, and it's making these clean arcs. You'll notice that I'm from this side going to this side. I make this arc, and in the air, you'll notice that I grab the notes before I play them. I grab them in the air, right about there, and then I land them. Chopin's Opus 48, C minor nocturne, similar left hand. That's the same kind of stride left hand pattern that a lot of jazz pianists use in this style. Let's see. You might want to take a look at the few videos that we do have of the pianist Art Tatum playing, who had one of the most freakishly strong left hands in terms of his stride piano playing, which is what I just demonstrated, but incredibly fast. And the fact that he was blind and does not miss notes tells you a lot about his efficiency of his technique. If you have other questions related to what we're talking about, I hope you'll feel free to let me know on the channel, and I'm really excited to address those as they come in.